there's a couple second delay on here. I'm going to give it a minute. Gloria, I am so glad we finally figured out how to make this work.
Oh my God, it was quite a work, but we made it.
Okay, all right, we are officially live. Gloria, thank you so much for taking the time. I see that we already have a couple of people on here. If you were watching on Instagram and you saw us struggling, this is the place to be now. You can stream on Facebook and on LinkedIn as well. So thank you guys for joining. I see a couple people on from Facebook. So Gloria, I'm sure you have a ton of colleagues who wanted to see this. I hope that everyone maybe kind of assumed that we were having technical difficulties, but that we are still having this.
Yes, and I mean, I hope they will tune in soon. Otherwise, you're gonna have this whole video posted, right?
Yes, and I just checked LinkedIn, and it says we are live and streaming, so all of your followers will get notifications that this is happening live, and then it's all recorded. It'll be saved on Facebook and LinkedIn.
That is great. One question: do you think it is worth it to try it again on Instagram, or should we stick with this platform?
But why wasn't your
wish.
Instagram working? That was my concern. You couldn't hear me on Instagram. Well, actually, yeah, let's do it.
Just let's try it. And if not, we drop it and we continue with this platform.
We're doing it live, everyone. We are making this work. This is resilience. We had 15 people on there, so I'm just going to cover this for 1 second so you don't see too close. Hello, everybody. Okay. We are live on Instagram right now and on LinkedIn and Facebook. Okay, so all you have to do, Gloria, is go to my Instagram story and you'll see that I'm streaming live, and then you click.
Right.
Okay, fantastic. I hope people join on here too. Okay. So do you see the button to join? Okay.
I think I just have.
Yep, I see it. Okay, we're going. Yay.
Yay.
So I'm just gonna lower your volume on your phone. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry you're seeing me up and close. Okay. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining. Okay, we got some Instagram followers.
Okay, so
lower the volume, Gloria, on your iPhone so that there's no feedback.
Yeah, I am trying to do that, but there's still my voice there. Were you able to mute it completely?
How's that? That worked.
I think I still hear my voice. It's low, but I still hear my voice. What should I do?
Okay,
folks, really, thank you for bearing with us. Really.
Yeah. I think we should scratch Instagram, as unfortunate as that is. Hi, guys. I see you on Instagram. We were having technical difficulties, so please join us on Facebook and LinkedIn. Yeah. I would close it, Gloria.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll try it.
And also, I'm going to keep it streaming on mine so like people can hear. And then if they want to follow you and see you, they can go to LinkedIn or Facebook. So thank you guys. Thanks everyone at Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Thank you for staying. Thank you for joining. And it looks like some of our viewers have moved over from the Instagram platform to restream. So let's just get started. I really appreciate everyone being patient, but it's totally worth the wait because Gloria is amazing. She is not only a former coworker of mine, but she's also a very close and dear friend. Gloria is a trademark attorney in Mexico, and she's currently a director at the law firm Chavez Ruiz. Zamaripa, am I saying that right?
That's perfect. Zamaripa, yes.
Okay, and Gloria has over 10 years of experience in intellectual property law. She received her LLM in the United States at Cardozo Law. She specializes in the fashion, cosmetics, entertainment industries, just to name a few. And this is my very dear friend, Gloria. Gloria, thank you so much for joining today.
Francesca, thank you so much for the invite. Again, we apologize for all the technical issues at the beginning. So thank you for staying tuned. And I am happy to begin with this conversation with you, Francesca.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. And I'm just gonna actually shut my Instagram. I just wanna tell everyone, hey guys, follow on Facebook. I see a couple of you have converted over, and you can keep the conversation going with us there. Thanks. Okay. Gloria, why don't you start by telling everyone how we met? I mentioned it briefly.
Sure. Of course. So I went to New York to pursue my LLM in intellectual property at Cardozo Law School, where actually Francesca also got enrolled for a JD. And we met during my internship. Between my both semesters doing my LLM, I got this great position for an internship in Lattice & Perry, an IP boutique law firm, where I had this great opportunity to meet Francesca. She was an associate there, I remember. And that's where we connected all the dots about both having gone to Cardozo Law School. So that's how we met. And let me say that I am so proud of Francesca, of all the things you have accomplished so far, passing from a big law firm, first from an IP law firm, then from to a big law firm, and then being this entrepreneur with all the social media going on and having this amazing promotional work for your Loza & Loza IP firm. So congratulations. And that's how we met.
Yes, and I think you're right. Like we realized we were alumni, and we both had the same passions. We really were interested in fashion law and entertainment law. We learned a lot. We learned from, we both worked with Alan Pilson, who was a top trademark attorney, and he passed away a few years ago. But we both had the opportunity to work with him and learn so much, as long as with the other really great trademark attorneys at Lattice. And one of my favorite memories is that we wrote this like crazy long outline of international intellectual property law. Which,
it was.
What was it, like 80 something pages? You could still read it.
Yes, it was almost 100. Yes, it was crazy. It was a lot of stuff. It was for INTA, I remember. That was for a publication for them.
Yeah. And, just having those research projects, I think, helped us, because you, as associates, you only get like little snippets of things, but it really forced us to do research on international treaties and international law and seeing kind of how the whole thing connected. And I remember reading things and I'm like, oh, I had no idea about this treaty and how you can actually take advantage of it. So to any associates on here, don't ever just like write off that type of work, because it really is important and fundamental for you to learn.
Sure, it was a huge work, and we were lucky to being considered for that piece of project. But you're right, Francesca. I mean, we were able to take the most of it. We became aware of a lot of international treaties that were applicable in both countries and in the rest of the world. And it was really useful to being part of that. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Of course, good times, good memories. All right, so I just want to get started. I want to hear about your background, Gloria, because I think it's interesting. Gloria is not only a attorney in Mexico, but she came and she studied in New York, and she received her LLM at Cardozo Law School. So what was it that made you want to study in the United States in general, and more specifically, New York?
Right. So it's a common practice for lawyers in Mexico right after having finished the law school to continue the professional practice, but at some point to think about doing an LLM outside of Mexico. I would say that it is not it is not an option for everybody. But if you are really looking forward to this whole cultural experience outside of your country, you can make that happen. So I wanted to go to the US because of the nature of the IP law. I think it's very, very international, and I do love the way IP is provided in the US. You have a lot of experience in precedent law, common law, regarding how to protect trademark owners. So that was one of my factors. The other very important factor was that I really wanted the personal experience. I wanted to go to New York because who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
This very cosmopolitan city, to get perspective of a lot of things, to live by myself, to meet people from all different cultures. One thing that I love about New York City the most is that you don't get judged. It's a very free city. So I was happy to go to New York to Cardozo Law School. I wasn't thinking Cardozo at the beginning, but then I opted for Cardozo because of the great syllabus and all the teachers.
Yes, I think that's one of the I'm still super active with Cardozo Law. I love my law school. We're putting on a panel tonight with Sam Edelman. I mean, the school has all of these excellent, not only alumni, but really active members who are advocates of the school and have either come across it, whether they were panelists or speakers, or students like us, Gloria. And that's I didn't come to Cardozo to be an IP lawyer, but once I got there and I started networking, I remember attending a speed networking event, and I was meeting general counsels of top fashion brands and in-house lawyers who were doing all of these really unique, and entertainment lawyers going back and forth from LA and New York. And I just was really so into it and realized, like, this is not only a school where I'm going to learn, but to network and to be a part of that community was something so much more.
Yes, totally. Actually, when I was back in Mexico and I retook all the work stuff from this very big law firm in Mexico with an IP practice, I was able to meet a lot of alumni from Cardozo all over the world, from Switzerland to a lot of states from the United States. And we had the chance to work together with this different background and with this unique connection that we all belong to this community from Cardozo. So I totally agree.
Yeah, it doesn't end there. And so I see we have a bunch of viewers right now on LinkedIn. Someone wrote that they listened to the podcast I was on the other day. I'm so glad you guys actually listened to that, because there's so much content out there. I always wonder if people are really listening and paying attention to. And Juan Carlos also, he gave the little applause earlier. So thank you guys. If you have specific questions for Gloria, just comment whether you're on LinkedIn or Facebook, and we're happy to respond. So Gloria, when you started practicing in New York, did you notice any of the was it very difficult for you to transition from Mexican law to the US law? Did you see some major differences, or were you surprised at maybe how similar some of the laws were?
There were, of course, similarities. The examination process, the criteria applied to the factors to grant or to deny a trademark. I mean, there were a lot of similarities, but I also noticed how the differences regarding the use of a trademark. For instance, in the United States, you need to actually use the mark before getting a registration before the USPTO, right? In Mexico, you don't necessarily need to be using the mark. It is you have 3 years after the granting of registration to begin using the mark. So actually, that's one of the main differences that I noticed, the use. Yeah. And an advantage from the USPTO system, from my perspective, is that you are actually granting the right, the exclusive right, to someone or to an entity that is actually going to use the mark, commercially speaking. So that really removes any obstacles, which happens in Mexico, that we have a lot of trademark owners that they are not truly interested in using the mark, or they just let time pass. So that's something that I believe it was different, which is related to the common law searches also. In Mexico, you don't have to conduct comprehensive searches in order to have an idea of your chances to obtain a registration, or to see if you would be infringing third parties' rights, because you just have to take a look at all the registrations already granted. So we don't have this system where the use of a trademark is the most important. We are based on a first to file basis.
As are some other countries like China and elsewhere, but that's clearly, I think, one of the major, when I was writing some points for today, that's definitely one of the most major differences. And, being a US practicing attorney, I always have clients think about holistically about, where do you see yourself not only using in the next 6 months, but do you see yourself also selling in Mexico, in Canada, in Europe, Asia, because there's a lot of territories like Mexico where if someone beats you to the register, it's going to be pretty difficult to try and fight that. So, versus trying to start a legal battle, I have clients think holistically, and I encourage them to get foreign filings on the register, especially since under the Paris Convention, owners have up to 6 months to file in certain territories where your application in the foreign states will date back to the US filing. So that's another tool that we use to help give.
And just a reminder, you have 6 months, right, from the original filing date to get all those applications filed overseas.
Correct. Since we're kind of talking more substantively, I'd just like to know from a practitioner's perspective, when your clients say, Gloria, I am using in Mexico, my brand's popular, but I want to now really solidify sales and expand into the US market and maybe elsewhere. Do you, and I know this is a case-by-case basis, but let's say if they implied that they're maybe going to do more, do you file directly in the US using foreign counsel, or do you take advantage of the Madrid Protocol?
That's a great question. I think it really depends on the case, but I think there are 2 factors here. One of them is timing. Usually when you get it done through the Madrid Protocol, you have to wait longer for the trademark office to decide on the registrability of the trademark. At least, and that's how it also works for Mexico, the other way around. So if you want an immediate protection or something at least quicker, I would recommend to do it directly with US counsel. And that's only one. The other important aspect to take into account is whether you would like to get into different markets all around the world. If you want to go to the US, but at the same time you want to go to Brazil or you want to go to Spain, let's do it through the protocol, so you can have these advantages from the foreign perspective of getting one international registration. I think that would be it. How do you think, Francesca, in the US PDO, it really makes a difference? Have you seen that in the practice? Is there a difference between the international registrations and the domestic ones?
It's really, it'll exactly that. I'll ask them, like, where do you see yourself in the next, not only the 6 months, but what's your 1-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plus plan? And if they say that this is a core, if it's a core mark and a core product or a core service, then I do tell them to think about filing in Canada, Mexico, EU, now the UK as well with Brexit is a separate little box to check. And in China, those are really the main markets I say to start with. And also another thing I think about is if it's clear that there's not any major issues with the underlying application. So if they have a registration in the US for 5+ years and they want to expand, I would say, like, let's go ahead and do Madrid Protocol if that makes sense. But when the client maybe just adopted the mark, we just filed, the search wasn't great, it did disclose some potential issues, that's an instance where I probably would recommend that they file directly in the key markets abroad, because if something happens to the base application, it gets tricky. And I haven't dealt with this, but I remember a lot of our former colleagues saying that if you have to divide out, it would be interesting if anyone on here has dealt with that, where they've had to convert all of your Madrid filings to national. I've heard that it's kind of a nightmare and, like, logistically difficult and administratively difficult. So that's another factor I consider, is if the underlying application may have issues, then I'm more inclined to file directly abroad.
And also the fees, right? The official fees, that's something that we have to consider, and that for the clients is also important. But when you do have to touch base with experienced counsels, you have to do that. You don't want to get in the way of something much more difficult. So if there's a possible obstacle, as you said, if the search discloses something a little bit tricky, you should get in touch, regardless if you're trying it via Madrid Protocol or directly with the country of interest.
Yeah, of course. And I think what's also interesting is because our roots are in international, we worked at an international IP law firm, which there may not be such a thing as international IP law, because rights are territorial. But I think our background, Gloria, starting at Lattice, really allowed us to work with counsel overseas and for us to become experts in understanding some of the other common issues abroad. And although Gloria and I are not licensed to practice in other countries besides, US and Gloria in US and Mexico, there's some very high level concepts that are very common in each country. And generally speaking, I know many of the countries which are first to file, or maybe first used, or what their use period is to file cancellations. But maybe a U.S. specific attorney who's never had to deal with the international aspect and never worked with foreign counsel, they may not know these issues. So I think if you are an international brand, it's very important to ask your lawyer if they've dealt with foreign trademark or IP issues before, because it could you a lot of time and energy. You can work with one global coordinating IP counselor like Gloria and myself, who have an understanding of all the issues. We have connections with people. Clearly, Gloria and I are good friends. So if there's Mexican matters, I would work with her and pick her brain. But not only do we work with these people, we really know them and we trust them. We have relationships with them. We get the best fees. And I think having like that advocate for you is really important when you're trying to grow and expand outside of the US, instead of just saying, okay, well, I'm going to start selling in Australia. So let me Google an Australian trademark lawyer. And then I also am going to manufacture in China. So let me Google a Chinese trademark attorney lawyer. Like there are people who specialize in this type of practice. So I recommend that you try and find and work with those people.
For sure. You need someone reliable. And for that case, getting in touch with someone outside your country is important, but through someone from your actual counsel. So in case of Francesca, if you want to go outside and you're thinking about selling or manufacturing in China, Australia, as you said, don't go online and search for an advocate. You really need to get recommendations before you can build that trust relationship. And also, I think that all those special connections will make things easier and smoother, walking in the way. So yeah, I totally agree. And we have heard very nasty cases about going online and contacting whoever appears in the first place. You really need to have a good word for the person you would be contacting.
Yes, I totally agree. And Gloria, one other thing, I don't even think we've talked about this offline, so I thought it would be a good topic to discuss. Do you know what the IP Accelerator program is through Amazon?
I want to hear all about it. Sure, okay. I do. We don't have it in Mexico yet, but yeah. I know that it has been launched in the US and now in Europe. Right? So why don't you talk about that? And I can tell you whether I think that would work in Mexico.
Sure. So you know what, you're right. It's Europe. It's not all of the EU. There's actually a couple countries. So don't quote me on that. Just Google Amazon IP Accelerator and you can see the actual list of countries. But in the United States, Loza & Loza, my law firm, is one of the IP Accelerator firms. So when I started here in September, I really didn't even know what that program was. All I knew was that Amazon had this very intricate, complex system that it created in parallel with the USPTO trademark rules. And, being a trademark practitioner, I never even, I didn't know enough about it because I wasn't so much representing a lot of Amazon sellers. But as I started learning and representing them more, I realized that the rule is Amazon requires you to have a full trademark registration, not an application, a registration in order to get access to brand registry. So what that means is that you need to.
And how long does it take regularly?
It could take 6 months to 12 months or more, depending on the issues. So it's really something that a lot of brands were putting pressure on Amazon to say, like, how can we speed up the process? And so Amazon's done a really great job. I have to say, they listened and they came up with a program called the IP Accelerator program, which they've picked 11 law firms, and my law firm, Loza & Loza, is one of them. So if you use one of those firms, you can get onto brand registry with an application. And that means you can get onto brand registry as quick as 3 to 4 weeks, depending on how quickly the seller gives responses and feedback. But that's really a significantly short time in compared to the 6 to 12 months or more.
It's a real difference.
Yeah, and so
it's very appealing for those who wants to sell on Amazon.
yeah, and what do you think about the program? Have you ever come across clients who say that they need to get into the United States quickly? Do you think that Mexico should adopt it? What are your thoughts?
I totally think that's something to consider and to adopt it, and because it has worked out in the US, and from what I heard in some European countries, it has also worked. So totally, that I think that for in order to get on the ship of digital um, era, we do have to help the trademark owners. That's the most important. We don't want to be holding their horses while they want to sell, they are ready, and when there are no obstacles. I think that's important to say. What about someone that wants to be on Amazon, but there's an identical mark for related goods? What would be your suggestions in
Yeah.
vis-a-vis this accelerator program?
Yeah, so we'll do the trademark search as part of it. I'll and I not only look we don't only look for federal hits, but as Gloria you mentioned, the US is common law based, so we also will do a brief internet search. And typically if there's an identical mark with identical goods, in theory those should come to the top, and they do. So it'll be one of the top hits on the common law, and especially on Amazon, I flag those. And unfortunately, if it's a dead mark for the exact goods in the United States, that's a real problem. Just because they don't have a federal trademark registration may not necessarily mean that there's no infringement. In fact, the opposite. It can expose you to liability. And although common law rights are limited, there's there's certain restrictions that you have. They're not all encompassing rights, but they are rights. And I don't know if you've been experiencing this, but with the internet, with online sales, I feel like there is so much, people are arguing confusion. Just because you're in New York and maybe there's another person selling in LA, yes, technically under common law, rights are limited to the geographic location. But with online markets, I mean, you're marketing to all 50 states. So it's just going to be interesting to see how the law develops. But, understanding that common law rights can be a major issue, I would probably say that that's a high risk, and ask the client to reconsider, especially if they're going to sell on Amazon. Another important point with that is that for brand registry, the application has to match exactly the brand name that you're using on Amazon. So if it's taken on Amazon already, you're not going to be able to really get onto brand registry.
So that's definitely an incredible tool for all the owners, trademark owners that want to go on Amazon. And I think that's a good initiative from Amazon, right? To try to speed this process and to have implemented this selection of law firms. So hopefully it will happen in Mexico as well. We will be happy to participate in that process. And let's see how the Mexican Trademark Office reacts to that also. They do need to cooperate, because it is not that Amazon will have their own registry.
Mm-hmm.
It's about having something in parallel with the USPTO in the case of the US, or with the Mexican Trademark Office here in Mexico. So it does get you do need that both offices spend some efforts, right, in this project. So let's see. You mentioned something about across borders, that how now if you want to sell here in Mexico or in the US online, it's not really clear where the limits boundaries are. Something that happened recently in Mexico, we had these major amendments to copyright law and to our trademark law. And one of those is actually regarding the notice on takedown from the internet service providers. If a trademark holder or if an authority compels the providers to take an infringing content. It both applies for trademark and for copyright. So I know that in the US you have had this for a long time. You have these copyright digital acts that we have been inspired to. Also, we have all international treaties where this was already provided, but for this first time, because of this commercial trade treaty between Canada, the US, and Mexico, Mexico was committed to incorporate this provision in Mexico, and they did. And so that's a new tool that the trademark owners have to try to challenge third-party non-authorized uses.
I love that. Yeah, I think with the internet, I mean, since COVID just ramped everything up. We were already heading in the direction of online businesses, but with more people being stuck at home, losing their jobs, or being laid off, I was telling my husband that last night. Like, I think that we had the .com bubble in the 90s. I think this is like the online business bubble. I don't want to use the word bubble. I think it's the boom, rather, an online business boom. There are so many people who are really talented at what they do and have figured out creative ways on how to monetize it, whether it's like a hobby and they started Instagram and Facebook pages, or they started Etsy shops. So with that becomes the importance of protecting and enforcing your intellectual property on these online platforms. Because if you allow other people to start using your marks and your names and your characters, whatever copyrightable content you have, and that's going to take away real sales in theory. So to have tools like this is ever growing in importance.
Of course. And as you said, this whole COVID pandemic situation, it just expedited all these business online. And for those who already had their online platforms, they had to make an easier system to interact with the users. And for all that weren't using it, they are there. And I mean, one example, I don't know if that's just coincidence, but it's your launching of the trademark attorney in Instagram, right? Was it related to this whole worldwide situation?
Yeah, I think the fact that I switched law firms. I was at Denton's and I started at Loza and Loza in September as a partner. So I came here with 0 clients. I came grassroots, really starting. And how does one start a business or start a practice with nothing in the middle of a global pandemic? The answer is online platforms. I started reaching out to my current network through LinkedIn. I created my Instagram account as a way to reach brands, entrepreneurs, and really get the message out. The purpose of it is really to spread the word about intellectual property. But what's been so cool about it is that I've actually gotten people who watch my videos and they get inspired and they've actually reached out to me. So I've started working for a couple people through that, which, if I had just started my new job sitting at home saying, okay, I'm going to wait for my phone to ring, I don't think that would have gotten me anywhere. And I think with being online, not only is it important for product sales, but it's really growing in importance for professionals like legal. Gloria, the fact that we're even doing this and having both of our firms support us and share it, it just is an indication that the nature of the industry is moving in a different direction. One that is able to get the information across to people very directly and easy. And I think the key word is less intimidating formats.
Right.
It doesn't have
more
CLE. Yeah. It could be a conversation like this that we're having that people can learn from.
more personal. Because at the end, I think that you want to connect with people, and social media is a great way to do that. And also, not opting for the traditional ways puts you in the spot. And I think that the potential that you have to meet the potential clients, to help people, to make them understand what IP is about, is great using online. So yes, I totally agree with that. Let's keep up with the good work online.
Yes, it's fantastic. Okay, we're almost out of time, Gloria, but I do want to just ask you like a fun question. So what if you had to give a recommendation, for a podcast or a book that you're reading, or both, what would that be?
Okay, so I would say there's one book that I am reading that I am enjoying, actually. Ask for More. It's from Alexandra Carter. She's a Columbia professor. And I like the way she empowers both men and women to ask for what you want. And she provides, I believe it's 10 questions to get you in the move for asking what you really want. And it works for both the office and at home. So I think that's a valuable book. And of course, I love historical novels, fiction novels. The Nightingale, that was the last one that I read during the lockdown, and I loved it. It's from Kristen Hanna, I believe.
Okay.
She's an amazing author, and it's about the bond between two sisters back in the Second World War. It's really nice. It's about women resilience, and I really recommend it.
I love that. I feel like I need to watch All My Lives again and compile a list of books, because I always ask this question and people have given some great responses.
I know.
And then we'll just end with, do you have any advice for if any law students or junior attorneys, even just attorneys in general, who maybe are looking to make a move or a change? Do you have any advice for those people who are looking to try to get into a career in IP?
Sure. First of all, I would say be fearless. Don't think about what people will think. If you want to change, if you want to make something different, go just follow your dreams. I know it sounds really corny and cliche, but it really is that way. And get exposure. Go online, go use your social media, get support from your workplace, either it's a big firm, a medium-sized law firm, and also publish articles, write something, issues, topics you like, you enjoy, because that's gonna reflect and that's gonna touch the viewers. So that's something that I would recommend. And yes, definitely. And if you feel like you need a change. Don't stay there. Just keep moving.
I love that. I love speaking with you, Gloria, and I hope we get to see each other at the next INTA in person.
It's gonna be November. You saw that?
Yeah.
Apparently in Houston. Let's see.
I know. I want to get the vaccine and then get out of here.
Yeah, let's wait for that.
Yes. And then just Amanda, or one of our former coworkers, said Powerhouse Women. Thanks, Amanda. Thank you, Gloria, for coming. Thank you to your law firm for their support. And I really hope everyone on here got a lot of information out of this. Gloria is an top-ranked attorney in Mexico, so I strongly recommend that you reach out to her if you have any specific questions. But otherwise, you can follow Gloria on her LinkedIn, and you can follow me on LinkedIn, and also I'm at the Trademark Attorney on Instagram.
And sorry for the technical issues at the beginning, really.
And we'll edit all that out.
Great. Thank you so much, Francesca.
Okay.